Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the Press Club with me, Kendall Burton and Earl Bousquet, on a show where we review the stories making news every week. And as usual, we review the stories in today's newspaper, starting with the Star newspaper. Who let the dogs out? New Top Cop talks stuff. Nationwide newspaper, the government newspaper, Hail Britannia. The Mirror newspaper, sexual violence on the increase. The PM Anthony recommends rape unit and sex offenders list. And the Voice newspaper, war declared on rapists, a range of tools to be used in the fight. Well, you predicted it. Eventually, it will be leaked, and so said, so done. The cover story, the headline story in the Star newspaper, and I guess the hot topic on this week's talk show with Rick Wayne, the impacts report. The center spread devoted to that subject. Has the secret impacts report been leaked? And there's a portion there of the recommendations coming from the impacts investigation team to the government of St. Lucia. But then the question is asked on the front page and in the article, is it real or is it fake?
That's the question. And good evening, viewers, and welcome again into another weekend of reviewing the top stories. And yes, it's something that was predicted by the press. Actually, the prediction was made by Marcus Day on WVent a week or two after the report came out. And his words have come to pass. And I've repeated it here that, you know, in this age of communication, it's just a matter of time. It's like Zika virus, you know, it's just a matter of time before it gets here, and it was just a matter of time before the report was leaked. But we have to be careful. Was it leaked? Because, like you pointed out, Rick Wayne himself, as the author of the article and the receipt of what he says he was told is the cover of the report and selected pages from the report, that doesn't constitute the report. Secondly, he questions or admits that he's uncertain as to whether the caller with the lady's voice who spoke to him and said that she had sent it to him anonymously, she had said she had only called to find out whether he got it, and he wanted to know whether he was going to get more, and she promised, well, wait and see. The interesting aspect of it, there?
He's getting a dose of his own medicine.
A dose of his own medicine. The interesting aspect of it is that is the conclusion, and Rick says here, and I quote, "I am half hoping someone is playing me, but I cannot shake the feeling the secrets of the classified impacts report are secret no more. It remains now for the government to say whether what I received this week is genuine, a shot in the dark, or just another Rick Wayne lie." Now, I don't think anybody believes, Rick Wayne believes, that the government is going to confirm or deny whether the pieces of paper that he claims to have constitute the report. But if and when Rick gets his hands on the report, I think it is going to deepen his conviction, as admitted in a recent talk show, that he wants to see the impacts report go to court. He wants to see the cases. He wants to hear his interpretation of due process is that he wants any cases arising out of the impacts report to go to the courts sooner rather than later.
Is that what we all want?
Right. Yeah. And secondly, the contents of the report would certainly reinforce his understanding of why the report could not have been published. And if the authors of the report and the government didn't publish the report, I doubt very much that Rick Wayne is going to publish the report chapter and verse in the Star. Normally, in a situation like that, we would be more preoccupied with who gave it to him. I think the impacts people themselves would have an interest in Rick Wayne knowing what's in the report, because they know that the information that is in there is information that he cannot publish, because it will compromise people.
The cases, yeah.
The information inside there relates to witnesses, etc., etc. The report doesn't have, as the DPP said, the tapes and the recordings and the names, etc., etc. But the report has enough for the Jamaica Constabulary Force to have concluded that there are 12 cases of extrajudicial killings that should go to court. And whether that information is in the pieces of paper that Rick Wayne has or not, at the end of the day, it will not be too long before there is a new DPP. And like I've always said, he or she will widely be expected, not only in St. Lucia, but across the region, in Europe, in the United States. It will be widely expected that the most urgent priority of the next DPP will be to do something about the report. And that is where I think we should look. Like I said, it doesn't matter if the report is leaked to Rick Wayne, because I think in all his understanding of the nature of these reports, and I know these reports, I've read them before, the information in there, or the information that leads to the conclusion of those reports, it really is damning in all of those cases. So Rick has chosen to publish the 10 recommendations, only 2 of which the Prime Minister referred to in his address of March 8th, 2015. But the actual information, the contents of the report, the evidence that the Jamaica Constabulary Force found in St. Lucia on the basis of them being appointed by the CARICOM Impacts Group to carry out the investigation into the Operation Restore Confidence. That is the crux of the matter, not whether Jamaicans ought to have the right to you know, we play that CARICOM thing when we want. On the one hand, we want to claim that, you know, we are so CARICOM that we will take offense to a candidate being referred to as a Guyanese. But then we would take offense to Jamaican officers coming to St. Lucia to carry out an investigation authorized by a regional government security agency. So at the end of the day, like I said, I think that the coverage of the impact report continues to be disdainful, I would say, to use a strong word, from the standpoint that we don't have it. So, you know, we speculate, we borrow words, we share ideas, but basically, in a situation like that, we tend to be overcautious. Those of us who really would like to say something, we tend to be overcautious. And those of us who are in a position to say and do something have to consider the implications of playing to the gallery, playing to the crowd. It's normal for the public to want to, in the name of public information, you know, on freedom of access to information, that everybody would like to read the impacts report. But it just can't happen, because as the Prime Minister said over a year ago, the information inside that report cannot be shared with the public, because it will compromise witnesses, it will compromise the police officers who have been accused, it will compromise the judicial process, because information that the courts would require in order to pursue due process, not just to convict, but to hear a case.
Would have already been made public.
It would already have been made public, and we tend to say all these things and only think of the government and the opposition, the politics of it. But we're talking about 12 dead St. Lucians. We're talking about 12 families that have lost somebody. We're talking about more than 12 police officers who are being accused of having committed murder, extrajudicial killing. Those police officers have to be treated as innocent until proven guilty. They are not known. The list of names hasn't been published vis-a-vis a list that included several victims was circulated. So we have to consider that these police officers, and it has to be more than just 12, because in each of these cases more than one police officer was involved. So those police officers, we have to think of them as well, because for over a year now, they know that the report is there. Within themselves, they know they've been identified because they were interviewed by the investigators, and they're living in limbo. Because on the one hand, you have one party that is saying in the campaign that it wants to, both parties want to see due process, but both have different interpretations of due process. And now the opposition has gone beyond due process and said that within 100 days of taking office, if it wins, it is going to basically wipe away the impacts report and start the process all over again.
But bearing in mind the old journalistic principle of if in doubt, leave out, do you think this portion of pages, as you refer to them, should have been published at all, bearing in mind that some of the recommendations there explicitly name senior and high-ranking police officers?
I think what Rick Wayne did there was precisely what he didn't allow Choice to do in his case. Here you had Choice with an ad that he claims referred to him as a liar, and he was prepared to go after them legally for having broadcast the ad without checking him. But here what he's done, he's got a couple of pages, he admits he's not sure about it, he admits he's not sure who it's coming from, he admits it's just pieces of paper, but he wants the government to come out and clarify whether what he has is true or not, without doing what he wanted Choice to do, which was to call the government, whoever, whether it's the Prime Minister or the Minister of Home Affairs and National Security or the DPP's office, where a copy exists, which is the only place we know a copy exists, to find out from them whether what is published on the front page of the Star and what is published in the center spread is accurate.
Or could it be a typical Rick Wayne tactic to back the government into a corner where they feel obligated to respond and to divulge information that he has been demanding of them?
If the government,
for example, on Thursday,
if the government, I mean, the government has its teams of advisors. If the government were to ask, or anybody in government were to ask my advice on whether to respond, I would say, not a word, not a word.
I have 2 words for you. Break time. We'll be right back. You're watching The Press Club.